I may not have told the exact story of exactly how we moved to Texas. We used to live in Denver, Colorado back through the 80s. Before that, we lived in Lawrence, Kansas. I've lived all over the place, and we'll get to those stories later, but we're just going to stick to the Texas part of things. My mom had been offered a job in Fort Worth. It was part of a sales marketing type of thing, and she was promised a hotel and a certain salary and everything, and we decided that this is what we were going to do. And we loaded up the car and we moved here, and when we showed up, the job didn't exist. They had already gone out of business. They had been shut down. It was a big scam. The hotel we were supposed to go to was like a closed down, rundown hotel that didn't exist anymore, and so we had to find a place to live quickly. We found these apartments over on the east side of Fort Worth, over near Lancaster and what is that, 820 I guess is the highway nearby, where 820 and 30 come together in Lancaster. It's not a very good area, but if you've ever driven down Lancaster, there's this area where they sell Christmas trees, and the people who live in the area would know exactly what I'm talking about. Behind that are these apartments, and we moved into these apartments, into that one right there, number 7. So yeah, we lived right up there in apartment number 7 when we first moved to Fort Worth, 1987. It's called the Chuckwood Apartments now. Not exactly sure what it was called back then. Wherever that minivan is parked is where my brother used to park his van, and I used to sit there, and these were our apartments. So we lived here for a short period of time, and there was a couple of notable things I remember in my mind when I reached back into my mind of living back here. Star Trek: The Next Generation had just started, and I was pretty fascinated with that. So that was about 1987, early 87 we moved here. I remember playing here. It's actually pretty nice. It's a nice little kind of a country vibe, kind of off in the back. But I remember pulling in here, a lot of prostitutes and crackheads wandering around. It's like, this is a nice little cutout cove that's nice, but across the street, not so nice. That's pretty much this whole area. There you go. There's one of the locals. Okay, so this little story over here, this local friend of mine, I have no idea what his name is. You got to remember, this is 1987. I was about 13 years old. He had stolen, I guess, a little Honda 110 Trail moped, right? And we were riding around on this thing. I was riding around on the back, and he let me ride it. He let me drive it. And I didn't know how to drive a motorcycle that had gears on it, because you had to switch the gears on this thing, if I remember correctly. And I really didn't know how to ride it. And we were in this little apartment complex back in this area where he let me ride it. And it was right at this point right here. So I'm riding this little motorcycle, this little moped, through this parking lot. And you see this speed bump here? This car came pulling around at me, and I freaked out. And I tried to stop, and I hit this speed bump right here. And the bike just simply fell over. I just fell right over. And I heard this loud pop. It was my left knee. I broke, there's 2 bones, that go in there. I broke my knee, and I couldn't stand up, and I was screaming, I was hollering. He came and he grabbed the bike and sped off. He took off and left me laying there here on the hot pavement, and I'm screaming, I'm hollering, and another car came by and said, "What happened?" And I'm crying, I broke my leg. And I'm trying to, actually, they found me crawling through this parking lot. So basically, I'm trying to crawl down this long road here to get back home, right? And this car stops and says, "What's going on?" And this is how crazy it was back in the 80s, right? I just get in these people's car. So these people, they pick me up, they put me in the back of the car, and they take me back home. And I describe to them that I live in these apartments around the corner. And on the way over to the Brown Trail Apartments on Brown Trail in Hearst, I'm going to show you the shopping center where I used to hang out. And this is what we used to do. All right, now we're in this little shopping center area, and we used to have a theater. It was like a discount dollar theater called the Bel Air Theater. And I remember seeing Eddie Murphy Raw. I saw Beetlejuice. I saw Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I saw the greatest movies that I can think of. I mean, think about all the cool movies that came out in 1987 and 88. Oh my God, there was so many great movies. And I saw them here. Now the theater is no longer a movie theater. It's now, it's a studio now. Now it is called the Artisan Center Theater, which is, they do live performances there. But back in the 80s, it was the Bel Air Theater. For a long time, I remember before it was finally dead, they were doing Rocky Horror Picture Show and stuff. And a friend of mine named Fred Hutton actually bought the theater and was doing stuff out of it. Now we got like an ice cream shop here. I remember that there was a great music store here. I met Rudy Sarzo from Quiet Riot. He was doing a thing here that used to be a music store. And this actually, right over here, that's called Just Right Produce. This used to be a Pancho's Mexican buffet. And anybody who lived in the Dallas-Fort Worth area would remember Pancho's. But Pancho's was this famous Mexican restaurant that was, well, it was terrible. And my brother worked there. And then there was a pet store next to it called Fin, Fur, and Feathers. I'll never forget that because I bought a little cockapoo puppy there for $100. I remember I had the puppy on layaway, and I bought her, and we had that little dog for about 15 years or more. And I named her Punky after Punky Brewster. And I remember that store over there was, it was some kind of a 5 and dime. I used to buy G.I. Joes there all the time. But, I mean, this was my hangout over here. And what I remember was there's this little convenience store called Moe's Shortstop. And this is where I did everything. I mean, I got all my candy bars from there. And right here, I'm going to stop right here and point myself towards... right across the street, if I zoom in, see if I can get close enough, but right over there, that was our apartment where we used to live. I lived in that apartment. Wasn't a bad apartment at the Brown Trail Apartments. Now it's called something else. But that's where I used to live. It was right over there, 1987, in these crappy little apartments. But anyway, every day of my life, every time I go up a set of stairs or whatever, I can hear my knee crunch and grind because of that break I got. Now, I did go to the hospital and they put a cast on my leg, but I never had it properly fixed afterwards. I mean, me and my brother cut the cast off ourselves with a hacksaw, and I never had it properly reset and fixed, and it crunches whenever I walk. And now that I'm getting closer to 50, it's starting to hurt a little. And I've had other doctors tell me, you know, you're going to need a knee replacement. That's what's going to happen at some point. And eventually I will. So I don't know what to do. I'll look into it, you know, as I get older. But that little speed bump in that parking lot affected my entire life. You know, I can't really run or jog effectively because of it. I'm not crying and moaning about it, but let me just tell you, you know, that little knee break from when I was 13 jacked me up, bro. And that's what happened. Okay, now got another crazy story for you. Now, I wonder if it's possible for someone to find this news story from 1987. Somebody's got to try to figure this out, but let me show you something real quick. Me and my friends used to come down and play in this little creek here. See this little creek? Right? We used to we used to love to play through these tunnels here and go through all these rocks. See, you could go through the tunnel all the way under the street from way over there. And you could come out the other end, and we would walk along these creeks and we would look for things, you know, we would do what kids did in the 80s, like in the movie Stand By Me. We would look for dead bodies and arrowheads and whatever stuff we could. So anyway, we're going through this pretty scary looking creek, and I don't remember what it looked like maybe 30 years ago, but it was a little different. And we found some large animal bones sticking out of like an embankment as part of rocks. We found some fossils and things. And we, you know, my friend that was with me, he went and reported it to, I guess, his dad or whatever, and they came down and looked at it. And something amazing happened. Now, I don't know if anybody could ever find this news story, if it's even possible, but maybe if you worked in the news or have access to news archives from 1987 here on Brown Trail in Hurst, Texas, we found dinosaur bones. The news came out, some archaeologists came out, and they did a story about how some little kids found some dinosaur bones in a creek here in Hurst, Texas. Well, that was me. Me and my friends, we found the stuff, and we were on the news, and it was an exciting thing. And everybody at my school remembered us, and we loved dinosaurs. And it was, I don't remember what kind of dinosaur it was. I don't remember what eventually happened, but we found some dinosaur bones, and it was on the news. And maybe somebody can find that information. I'd love to be able to see that story once again, but it happened. Well, then we move over here to East First Street. Now this house here is pretty dilapidated. I think they're getting ready to tear it down. We lived here probably 87, 88. I'd say 88, somewhere in there. And it's a pretty scary looking house. Yeah, so this belonged to a guy named Wallace Shepard. Now my buddy, Bucky Shepard, who was his son, he used to live next door. Now I don't know if the sign is still there, I think. Let's see. I think it says, you can't see it for the trees. This guy had bought a charity called the NCDA, the National Council of Drug Abuse, and he was basically running a halfway house here. A lot of crazy memories living in that house. What a dump. So this is crazy. I saw a guy who was just here a minute ago. I don't know where he went, but the building is open. Let's check it out. I used to live here. Oh my God. It's the bathroom. Jesus Christ. This was the kitchen. I can show you pictures of my mom in this kitchen standing right here. And this was my room. And this was the living room in here. And this was my mom's room. Oh my God. I remember I used to play in the attic. Yeah, right there. I used to pull that down and go up into the attic. I don't know what's been going on in here, but it's not good. But I used to live in this house in 1988. Cut myself on there's a screw sticking out of the door, and I walked past it and it cut me. So I talked to the grandson of the owner, the son of my friend Bucky, who used to live here. And unfortunately my friend Bucky is in a rehab hospital for some, you know, he's gotten to be elderly and he has some issues, and a lot of memories here. But, you know, you guys always hear me tell these stories about where I came from, and now you're seeing it. It's kind of amazing. So anyway, we were living here at this house, and that's when, you know, my mom had met that biker dude, Cotton, and we were staying here. I remember one night, this is an incredibly emotional, traumatic thing that happened in my life. He had gotten drunk. Now, you remember, or this guy had been released from prison for, I think, cutting his ex-wife's throat. I think she lived. But he got in a big fight with my mom. And in that middle room right there, that I said was my bedroom, And he pulled out a knife and he held it to her throat. And I remember I had a BB gun, and I grabbed my BB gun and pointed it right at his eye. And he dropped, he let her go. Oh my God, I just realized something. He sliced his own arm open, his left arm. And then ran out of the house bleeding. That can't be a coincidence. Maybe that was Cotton's ghost reminding me of that memory. I mean, what did I don't have an explanation for this. So I don't know why he did it, but he took this knife and he slashed his arm right across his arm. It was bleeding everywhere. There was blood everywhere. He got in his truck and he drove off. My mom called the police. We were covered in blood because the blood was squirting everywhere. He went down to the street to the gas station and called her crying, saying, "I'm sorry, I was drunk, I'm an idiot, I'm so sorry." Of course, my mom didn't press charges on him. He came back, he had big stitches on his arm. I have a picture of him standing here in this spot with his truck with a Christmas tree, and he had a big bandage on his arm. And the Christmas tree, we'd pulled over on the side of the road to a median and had cut down a tree and brought it back, and that was our Christmas tree. And as I was walking out of the house, that screw just leaped out and cut my arm, just like it cut his. This has been very cathartic. I remember sitting in that little room listening to Metallica's Kill 'Em All, which was a pretty new record at that time. I remember just dreaming of a better life. Used to be another building here that Bucky used to live in, and my brother used to live in this other building over here. So Bucky's son just walked over here, Eric, and he said he found this picture in his dad's stuff. This is me interviewing Gwar, probably about 93 or 94. I had a cable access show called Underground Connection. That's the Jaws, the Ballsack, the Jaws of Death. There's Odorous back there. Dave Brocky is no longer with us. Wow, that's fantastic. 608 West Beach. Yep. It's the weirdest story. You know, we lived here for a while in 1989. And my mom had married this guy, this biker named Cotton. Cotton died. Now that window there on the right, that was my room. And they lived in the back. My brother Marty stayed in the converted garage. And we lived there for a while. It's a really tiny house, by the way, as you could tell. But we lived there for a while. Cotton died. And we moved over to another place I'm going to show you over on Ray Street. We lived there for a while. And then we moved out of that place and back into here again, which is the weirdest thing. And then we moved out of here and then back into the other place. I don't know the exact reason why. It was just some discrepancies, and then, you know, I guess my mom, like, we got kicked out or whatever, and then she made it up to him and said, "Hey, I'll pay you the back rent if you let us move in again," or something like that. But this was around 1988, 89. I remember it was 1989 because that's when Cotton died. I remember sitting in that little bedroom there, listening to Dr. Demento on the Zoo, KZEW, if everybody remembers that. But I definitely remember living here. I have a lot of memories of that house, actually, and in that little room. It looks kind of big for here, but it wasn't that big. But that was my room there, and I lived there. Well, after Cotton died, we moved, and this is over at Belknap and Ray Street. In this house, I lived at around 89 to 91 or 2. We actually moved into this house, then we moved out of it, and then back into it again because we were really friendly with the guy that owns it. I'm still friendly with the guy that owns it, Mr. Beavers. And I lived in the back bedroom, and my brother lived, there's like a little house behind it. My brother Marty used to live back there, and for a while. It's a really big house, actually, and we lived back there in the early 90s. And, you know, I have a lot of good memories there of living there. It wasn't a super terrible place. I'm guessing somebody there is handicapped now and has a ramp. This is 3317 Race Street. Lived here on and off. I mean, I remember sitting on that porch listening to early Pantera tapes and playing in that backyard, and I was just a teenager back then. But it was actually a pretty cool house at the time, back in the 80s. Eamon Carter Riverside High School. This is where I went to school back in the 80s. 9th grade, 10th grade a couple times. Yeah. Used to walk all the way up Bonnie Bray, all the way down there, and my house was way down there. And this was the school. And right over there was the lunch hall in that area there. It's a cafeteria. And it's a very classic 50s Back to the Future looking kind of school. Did not enjoy this place, I gotta say. I was one of few white kids here. It was pretty crazy. I can remember being confronted right here in this very spot by Mexican gang. And they, you know, wanted to start some trouble with me. In this very spot, I remember that guy Sammy, I think he's in prison, or he's dead. It was a rough school, man. It was rough. I remember vice principal, Mr. Teams. I remember him spanking me with a 2x4 called the Board of Education. I don't even know if it's open. I mean, look, they got windows are boarded up, and I guess it's still going, and it's probably still a terrible school. Terrible school. I hate to sound bitter, but I don't have a single positive memory of being at this school. Not one. I was alienated. I was treated terribly. My principal, Dr. Peterson, cornered me in the hall one time and he says, "What are you doing in my school? You're making us look bad. Wearing a leather jacket, you got a mohawk. Why don't you just drop out and get a job or something? Do something with your life." And I said, "You mean I don't have to come here if I don't want to?" He said, "No, clean out your locker. Get out of my school." He could have threw his arm around me and said, "Hey, what's going on at your house? What's going on in your life?" Because little did he know, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't do drugs. I was interested in science. I was interested in technology and art. But he didn't want to know who I was. He didn't want to know what was happening at my house. And I walked out of this school and I walked down the street to Jack in the Box and got a job at Jack in the Box for $4 an hour. I never did graduate high school. A lot of millionaires dropped out of 9th grade. Sam Walton, many others I could name. And I don't know if I'm the most successful person to ever come out of this school. I know some other people that went to this school and they're doing okay with themselves. But most of the people I've ever met that went to Eamon Carter Riverside, they're not rich. And I guess the bitter lesson that I have is that I don't know if any of that faculty is still alive, and if they were to ever see this video, but you did a very piss poor job with your students. You totally missed the mark. And I know I seem really angry and bitter, but I knew that I had to get out of the situation I was in. I needed to get out of the environment, and I needed to do something with my life. And my move to Las Vegas really is kind of part of that. I'm moving on to the next chapter of my life. Anyway, let's go check out the Jack in the Box where I got a job. Jack in the Box, I mentioned this Jack in the Box. Haven't stepped inside this place at least 20 years. This Jack in the Box is right on the corner of Belknap and what is this? Riverside. There are so many goddamn crackhead hookers walking around here. This area has gone to shit. Oh my God, I spent several years back there behind that grill and on those fryers. Right here at this Jack in the Box. Matter of fact, before I started working here, I was on homeschooling for a while. I used to sit at this booth. It wasn't this booth because they renovated the place since then, but I used to sit and do my schoolwork with my teacher here. It looks completely different, obviously. It's the same building. I mean, they've redone the floors, they've redone the tables, they've redone everything. It doesn't look exactly the same as it did 30 years ago, but you know, back in 1989 or 90, 91, 92, all the way till about 94, I think I worked here, and also at a couple other Jack in the Boxes. On the corner of Kleckler and Belknap by Ray Street. They call this 6 Points. There's all kinds of crackheads and whores walking around. I just saw a crackhead hooker crawl into a guy's pickup truck, picked up 2 tacos and a BJ. I mean, you know, you can't do any better than that at Jack in the Box, under 10 bucks. Before I worked here, the employees used to let me clean up the parking lot, and they'd give me free food. A lot of memories here. I spent a lot of time at this building, on this place here, you know. But I just realized it was never gonna get any better. It was never gonna get any bigger. I was never gonna make any more money. They had made me shift leader, but there was just no room to grow. I wasn't even a high school graduate. I knew I had to get out and do more. On to bigger and better things. I couldn't resist. Roll times. It's funny, there's a Jack in the Box right by my new house in Vegas too. There's just something about these tacos. I mean, they're terrible. They're not tacos. The meat's got TVP in it. And yet, we eat them. 30 years later, you could still get 2 tacos for $1. Doesn't make any sense. Jesus, that was fast. I just saw her crawl into a truck not 2 or 3 minutes ago. That dude was fast. I remember for a brief moment, for a little while, I lived in this tiny little house. This thing is just a little cottage, sharing it with my friend John Seymour. He worked over at the 7-Eleven down the street. The 7-Eleven was next door to the Jack in the Box. We used to hang out with each other for hours and hours and hours. And I guess we had gotten evicted out of some house. My mom had moved into a hotel. And so for a few months or more, I forget for how long, John let me bunk in there with him. I was sleeping on a couch. But this whole house isn't as big as our bedroom. Literally. I mean, it is tiny. The whole thing, I mean, look at it. There's a little tiny kitchenette there. That's the water heater on the outside there. I don't know why it's a brick house. It's a house. John really was a dear friend, and he meant a lot to me. And if you happen to see this out there, John, thank you for letting me stay with you and be my friend. And you know, it really meant a lot to me. It really did. And you were a great friend, and you were an important part of my life. Thank you for being my friend. This is 2509 Embry, and my God, it's run down. I think it's abandoned. I think it's condemned. Lived here probably, I don't know, 94, 95. So I'm not sure exactly. I remember this big field being here because I remember my grandfather coming to visit me, who was pretty wealthy, and I remember him parking his big RV there. And I used to park my cars there. And we lived here with both of my brothers, Marty and Doug, and my mom and the boyfriend that she had at that time. And I remember I was down, I don't know, towards the end section there. It's a pretty shabby looking place, and it didn't look much better back then. Pretty busy street too. There's a lot of people running up and I mean, this is a weird neighborhood, but you know, we always lived in really crappy places like that. I mean, look at that. I think that was my area back there. I remember that little entrance back there. And you know, we lived all over Riverside. You know, down here is the famous Stroud auto supply that's been here since probably the 40s and 50s, and it's still here. People still go to this old auto parts store on the corner of Sylvania and Embry. It's been there forever. I can't tell you how many times I've had to go there and get a fan belt or a water pump or something for my piece of shit car. There's a lot of places I can't show you because they just doesn't exist any longer, like the apartments that used to be here. And my brother Marty lived in the bottom one over here, and then my mom lived up there, and it wasn't a very big apartment complex, as you can see, but it was we lived there right after that other place around the corner for a while. This is the last place my brother Marty lived before he was killed in 2004. And you know, I had already moved out, you know, gotten that other place, but it's gone now. A lot of the places I want to show you are gone now. They just don't exist. And thank goodness. All right, now I don't want to get too far off the subject because we're talking about places I used to live, but across the street from me is the famous Stagecoach Ballroom. This place has been in a lot of movies, most notably one called Square Dance. Look this up. It's starring Rob Lowe and Winona Ryder. They filmed it right here on the corner of Sylvania and Belknap back in around 86, 87. And they used to go into the Stagecoach, and then there was also a little nail salon over there. But what's missing now is, let me step over here. See, now there's these apartments here. Now these apartments that used to be here, there used to be a field, and there used to be a little building that was here that you'll see in the movie. Go see if you can find this movie called Square Dance with Winona Ryder. Now the Stagecoach, it's like a country bar. It's still pretty run down. It was back then. They used to do wrestling there, like NWA wrestling. I remember Killer Tim Brooks, the wrestler, used to set up there, and we'd go watch the wrestling there with him and Baboose and all these other famous wrestlers. It was pretty fun. Anyway, just a little detour. Used to hang out on this corner. My buddy Charles Beavers, who I told you owned this other house, he used to have a tamale store over here. He used to come over here and get tamales. Anyway, on to the next place. So we used to stay on this place on Dalford Street, and I lived right back. There's a separate entrance right there, and that was my part of the house. And this was about 96 to 97. This is where I was living when I met my ex-wife. And for a while, we lived back in that little room. There was a little small room back there where that separate entrance is. And we lived back there for a while before we went and got our own place. Let's go check that out. So we moved out of my mom's house and we rented this place, 5736 McDougal, just about a block away from the house that we bought. Rinky little house. Over there on the left was our bedroom. Had a bunch of junk in that garage. I remember that tree there was like, I don't know, I remember there was a tree that used to drop fruit, apples or something, I don't remember. Peaches, pears, it was some kind of a fruit tree. But it wasn't the greatest place ever. But we were renting it, and it was our own house, and we were starting a new life, and pretty cool. But it wasn't long that we moved, and we bought our own house just down the street. All right, this is 5604 Oregon Trail. Please don't bother these people. So after we moved out of the McDougal house, which is just, block from here, we purchased this little model home. It was like 1,200 square feet. And bought it for like $62,000, lived there for 5 years, from 98 on to like 2004, I think we moved out. That garage is a half garage, because half that garage was my office and the other half was just enough to park my Harley Davidson in. And it still looks exactly the same. You know what trips me out is this mailbox. I put that mailbox there in 1999 because the other one was like falling down, and it's still there. So I had deeded this house to my ex-wife as part of the divorce and lost it. And I think she sold it for like 150 grand or something. I don't know. I don't know who lives there now. I don't know who owns it. So please don't bother these people. But back 20 years ago, that was my home. And right there in that driveway, I built my first video van truck, and in front of that mailbox used to park my 1998 Ford Taurus wagon. 5 years lived there. A lot of good times, good memories, great little house. Still looks fantastic. I bet it's worth 200 grand now. So, me and the ex-wife, we got married in Las Vegas at the Graceland Wedding Chapel in 1999. It was April 20th, 1999, which was the day of the Columbine High School shooting. Also Hitler's birthday. Didn't know that at the time. Should have been an omen that I should have paid attention to. But we lived at that house on Oregon Trail till 2004. We decided to upgrade our lives. And we were moving on up to the top. So we moved over to North Richland Hills, I'm not going to give the address because she still lives there and now owns my house. I technically own it, but this woman has it. And she's not been taking care of it. Let's take a look at it. So this right here is, man, I haven't driven by here in a while. I guess she still lives here. Well, I mean, I haven't gotten a notification that it's been sold. But this was my place. And, you know, I'm wondering if it isn't abandoned. I don't see any, where's the horses? We had horses, unless you got rid of them. You know, I have to wonder what's going on, because I haven't been by here in a while. But we moved here because she had a dream of having horses. So we had 2 horses, and they lived out there. I put that fence up myself. And we lived there, well, I lived there until I got a divorce from her in 2008, 9. I don't know if you can see that little building in the very back. Those were stables at one time. This house was built in like 1954, something like that. And let me back up a little bit. And anyway, you know, I let her have this house and the other house as part of our divorce agreement, and that's fine. Again, I put up this mailbox. Of course, it's not doing as well looking at it. It looks really run down. It didn't look this way when I lived there. But in that garage area back there is where I built my first DeLorean time machine. Right there in that driveway, in that back area. And I used to keep there's my tractor. God damn it, I bought that thing from Sears, brand new. Look at it now. So it's not being maintained. Good Lord, woman. What is going on here? So she remarried. She had kids of her own. She has her own life. But I can tell you a lesson here. If you ever get divorced, you know, these deals, my lawyer told me, don't do this. Just liquidate everything. And I said, no, let me be nice to her. I'm going to let her have this house. I'm going to let her have the rental house. And see, the thing is this house is still in my name. The loan is still in my name. And, you know, when she doesn't pay the bill, because she doesn't, I get the bad credit report. And I have to fight with my credit agency over it all the time. This house, when we bought it, was $148,000. It's probably worth, good Lord, I mean, we've got over half an acre. And it's even in its condition, if it was fixed up, it would probably be worth, you know, who knows. This sun is right on me and I'm trying to get out of it, sorry. So I get letters from the city all the time about the overgrowth, about the animals not being taken care of, and you know, there's nothing I can do about it. I try to explain to them that there's really nothing I can do about it. And but you know, I lived there for over 5 years. I used to park my RV. That was my RV parking. I had a Tioga. I used to park it in there, and my other cars. And this is still a really cool property. Unfortunately, it's just not being taken care of. Down a kind of a country road in North Richland Hills. North Richland Hills water tower in the backyard. It's easy to find. Don't be messing with it though, please. Whatever you do, do not come by here. But it's interesting to see, like, I had a pool back there. The pool's still back there. I had done my tough shed is still back there. Good Lord, what a dump. Now, this is not a place I used to live, but it is a place I used to work. Now, it changes names every other day. It's called Studios at TCN right now, but it used to be called AIN. So back in, 98, 99, this place was called AIN, the American Independent Network. It was an independent television network where they would send a low-power station, like a receiver. They would play public domain programming and rebroadcast and split the advertising. I went in there about, 98 or 99, something like that, to sell them some equipment because I was refurbishing broadcast equipment and selling it. And they said, look, we don't have any money. We're about to shut down, but we will give you a job. If you will come in here, bring all your equipment and all your skills, we'd love for you to just run this place. There's like nobody working here. We're losing our asses. We need help. They made me the chief engineer of the place, head of production. I was doing all the television production, the TV commercials, all the voiceovers, the look and feel. So if you ever watched the AIN network back in 20 years ago, that was me. You're watching the American Independent Network. Coming up next, the Beverly Hillbillies. And we played all this stuff. This allowed, I shouldn't say single-handedly, but without the production and without being able to stay on the air, they wouldn't have been able to get out there and sell their stock, get new investors, and they wouldn't have been able to do any of those things. So at the time, there was a guy named Alan Luckett. He was the CEO, and he said, I'm going to make you a 1% owner of this place. And so I said, okay, let's do it. Well, he got replaced as CEO with another guy named Marco Camacho. And about a year into the project, I hired in all these new people. We had things really going. They were going to convert over from the American Independent Network to the Hispanic Television Network to kind of cash in on the influx of Latin programming out there. And for a while, I think they were running a station called Sorpresa. And then it became Studios 121. Now it's Studios at TCN. It changes constantly. I have no idea who's running it now 20 years later. But anyway, I went into Camacho's office and I go, hey man, I'm checking out the stock prices and I'm currently worth $1.2 million as 1% owner. And he laughed. He goes, 1% owner. And I go, yes, I'm 1% owner of this company. And he went and he looked at the files and his face got like this. And he goes, we'll talk about this tomorrow, Bob. So they had me come up to the office the next day after I had saved their ass once again because we had gone off the air. I fixed the computer, got us back on the air again. Anyway, I go up to the office and there's two police officers there. And they said, we've eliminated Mr. Moseley's position. We'd like him walked off the property, please. And I'm like, what's going on? And they said, we've eliminated your position. You've been fired. And to make sure there's no problems, we're going to trespass you from the property. I said, why? What's going on? He goes, we can't talk about it, Bob. Really? So I said to the officer, can I get my personal things? He said, absolutely. Well, everyone who worked here, I had hired. And I said, well, I need to get my equipment that's here. And they go, that's fine. Well, I went downstairs and I unplugged everything and took them off the air. And I took all my shit and loaded it into my van, into the cars. And they were off the air. They didn't think about the fact that they were running on my equipment. And then all of a sudden they were like, hey, can we work something out, Bob? No, we can't. And so I was in the process of suing them. But what they did was they were just running a pump and dump operation. They were totally scamming people out of their stock. Even though they had issued me 5,000 shares of stock, it was restricted for 2 years. I never got my $1 million. I never got my money. And that was AIN. I don't know what they're doing now. I don't know who runs it now. I don't know if it's still running. I don't know who's there, what's happening. I have no idea. All I can tell you is it wouldn't be a studio unless I had built it as a studio 20 years ago back in 99. And I went on to do other things. I started building mobile production trucks like the other one I talked about. And it's not a place I lived, but it was a big part of my life. And I got to tell you, working here was one of the greatest times of my life. And so sometimes people will ask me, you do cars and things. Why are you called Videobob? Well, I was a video guy before all of that. So that's just part of my story. And here it is on the corner of Carson and 121 in Fort Worth. Okay, now you can't tell the story of Videobob of Fort Worth without talking about my man here, Ernest McGee, the Texas legend. That's who he is. He's the Ernest McGee, the Texas legend. Stand up here. So, now correct me on the things I get wrong. I'm going to try to tell your story real quick. Now, I guess like you would get airtime through the television stations as part of their community outreach.
Yes, sir.
And you put on the Juneteenth Festival every year.
Yes, sir.
Which you were recently honored.
Yes, sir.
By the mayor and everything. I mean, I remember seeing you on the front page of what was it, Fort Worth Weekly or what magazine? It's on the paper. You've been on the cover of the paper.
So many of them, you know.
All right, so he's well known in Fort Worth. Now, if you lived in Fort Worth, Texas, in the late '80s and early '90s, and you watched late night television, you saw this man on TV, and I used to see your TV commercials all the time, and I was making TV commercials, and I came to you and I said, I want to make your TV commercials.
Yes, sir, you did.
And I made hundreds of TV commercials for you back in the early '80s.
Yes, sir.
And they were terrible.
But
everybody saw them.
Those things, those people still remember us. They still remember.
You used to have that Arsenio flat top.
Yes, sir.
Before we both shaved our heads.
Yeah.
He always says, he goes, we look so much alike. He goes, I'm your second daddy. We do.
That's right. That's right.
It's like the yin and the yang.
And I'm extremely proud of you.
Well,
that
means a lot.
You were one of my greatest projects. I'm telling you, you exploded, and I'm so proud.
This guy does everything. He's engineer. You graduated from
University of Texas.
University of Texas at Arlington.
Yes, sir.
You did math tutoring. You had a band, the Ernest McGee Band.
Yes, sir.
Played with James Brown, right?
James Brown.
James Brown, all kinds of people.
Opened up for Phyllis Hyman, Marvin Gaye.
Unbelievable.
Played for Bobby Bland, not B.B. King. I always wanted to play for B.B. King.
Never got to do
Never got a chance to do that, but I was shooting at it though.
What Johnny Taylor?
I was on the same show with Johnny.
That was on my side of town.
Yes, sir. Yes,
he was
sir.
over there by my old clip.
Yes, sir.
But you'd always see the TV commercials with him have his guitar,
And at the end of all the commercials, I would say, and I'm Ernest McGee, and the legend rock song. But
these were the commercials that would come on at 3 a.m. during the late night movie. That I got to tell you, I go back at those commercials and I go, oh my god. I have to play some of them, but we did hundreds of them.
They're on
YouTube.
YouTube.
I put some of them on YouTube for you.
Yes, sir.
And so around Fort Worth in the '90s, early '90s, I think we did those commercials from about like '93 to about probably into almost to 2000.
Almost into 2000, yes, sir.
Almost 10 years.
There are people that come here every day here at my business. They say, Ernest, I remember you when you had Juneteenth, when you were on television, you did this, when you did that, and and I'm extremely proud of it, because if it hadn't been for you making it possible, you came into my life and just totally changed it. Now you're a millionaire, and I'm
not a millionaire,
well,
but I'm a thousandaire.
You're a millionaire. You have the thing about you, Videobob, is that you've grown. You handle $500,000 deals. You have $100,000 deals,
But I'm working on it.
But you're working on it, buying property.
Dude, I remember us running around town doing rent-a-wreck.
Oh, yeah.
What about the tea cakes?
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
That was a bad commercial. Or CJ Walker and his cell phones and beepers.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh.
I mean, dude, the commercials that we did, the fish place, the car lots.
Rappers.
Oh, everybody. I mean.
Singers, dancers.
What about that? What was that music video we did? Simo.
Oh, yeah.
Keep one eye open.
Yeah, one. And I used to love the way you would do it.
One eye open. And I sure am hoping that. I did over 350 music videos back in the day, and one of them was this rap video we did back in, it was Tyler, and that was fun. We did a lot of stuff, man. We spent a lot of time together, right here in the old neighborhood in Fort Worth,
yes,
and you've been here
quite a few years.
You're on it's Ayers and Vickery. That's right.
Ayers and Vickery.
Ernest McGee Center. Been here
sir.
For a long time.
Long time.
And we just do the commercials next door at B&H.
Yes,
they still over there?
Yeah.
Wow.
B&H is still there.
Unbelievable.
Yes, sir. Richard.
You couldn't watch late night TV without seeing Ernest or me or one of our commercials, or hearing my voice or hearing your voice.
That's right.
We did voiceover. It was unbelievable. And so, but it wasn't a lot of money though. People think that we made a lot of money.
Well,
Used to pay me like $85.
don't tell them that.
In 1993, $85 was a lot of money.
That was a lot of money.
Man. Kept that Ford Taurus running. Man, we ran out all over town. How we fit 4 people into a 30-second commercial is unbelievable. But anyway, I couldn't tell the story of Videobob in Fort Worth without mentioning Ernest McGee.
And I can't talk about Ernest McGee without mentioning Videobob.
Well, you know.
Really, I'm gonna tell you something, son. You made Ernest McGee.
No, Ernest McGee already was there. All I did was show him to the world. That's it. That's all I did was put you on TV.
And I appreciate it.
You know.
I want the world to know.
And I still love your Christmas record and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's got a great record. And your other, I still remember some of your songs. So.
And I just got to say I appreciate it. I mean, you know, I had a birthday here, and I'm not going to tell you how old I was, but I'm pretty.
You're looking pretty spry for only 39.
Well, thank you.
I mean, I was a teenager, I think,
sir.
when I started.
Yes, sir.
I am now 46.
Yes, sir. You came to me, and you had a fanny pack.
Yeah, I had a fanny pack.
And you said,
I used to wear those Velcro pants back. That was a big thing back then. Those pants.
And you said I can make commercials, and I said, oh yeah.
I had a VHS camcorder back then. But hey, we did it.
We did it.
Made it work.
We broke through.
We broke it.
Through, and I'm very appreciative. My family knows that I love you. You're my second son, and I'm proud of you because you make
how many
sales.
kids you got now?
I got, well, I ain't gonna tell you.
Now, how many of them did you name Ernest McGee?
All 3 of my boys were named Ernest.
So yeah,
McGee.
They called him 1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3, and my daughter named it Princess.
I mean, literally, it was like, hey 1, hey 2, hey 3. That was the name.
That's their name.
And
now I've got we're
like,
up to
didn't George
7.
Foreman do that?
George Foreman did it, but I outdid George Foreman. I did. I really. George Foreman named his kids. Okay, I named Ernest 1, Ernest 2, and Ernest 3, and now I've got Ernest 4, Ernest 5, Ernest 6, and Ernest 7 grandkids.
Ernest 8.5 coming next.
See? So you know, I just got honored by the city.
That's amazing.
They sent the newly elected state representative, Chris Nettles, out and presented me with a plaque showing them their appreciation for the service that I gave to the community down through the years. And that really gave me the feeling that my life wasn't for nothing.
What you have, Ernest, is better than money. I know that's no consolation, but you have respect. And God forbid, when your funeral happens, it's going to be a big, big procession. And everybody in town is going to stop what they're doing and recognize you. And that is something that is the measure of a man.
Well, thank you.
And that is the success that you have.
And I'm thankful to the Creator.
So there, you know, I'm harking back to those days when we would film a commercial, as dark as it's gotten, because now you've done turned blue in the camera.
Well,
I can't even see you now. And you would beg me, okay, now Videobob, I need light on both sides. I need that gold reflector on me. I need some makeup. Light me up now.
Light me up.
Light me up now. Because you're dark. You don't pass the brown bag test.
So
I'm the whitest man in America.
When I go out of here, I want to make sure that people see this right here. You put you and me. I'm proud of you, son. I am. I'm proud of.
He's always been my second dad. You know?
Well, thank you.
Well, we love Ernest McGee, and I had to come tell his story, and my story here in Fort Worth. I transitioned to Las Vegas.
Activity.
And okay, we got it.
We got it.
You wanted to send a message, and we got it. But you know, there's going to come a time where I'm not going to come back too often. And so I wanted to come by and see you. But if you ever get to come out, you should come out to Las Vegas and come hang out with us.
Well,
it could happen one day.
I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
You need a vacation.
You know.
So you're too busy working. You're always helping everybody.
Yes, sir.
You're helping everybody there is. And you don't take time for yourself. You need to find a weekend for yourself. come out to Las Vegas. I'll ride you around in that Rolls Royce, and I'll take you out to dinner, and you have a great time.
Well,
need to make that happen.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right. It doesn't turn pitch black out here.
Yes, sir.
All right.
But that's all right. God bless.
Well, it's a week later. Here I'm in Las Vegas at my new house, and I realized as I was editing the video that, well, I hadn't filmed an ending for it. It's been very emotional watching it, seeing all the places where I used to live, and then coming home to this amazing new property that I have here. You know, who'd have thought, even 10 years ago when I moved out of my ex-wife's place, when I thought it was the end of the world, I thought I was losing everything. And I bought that amazing 6,000 square foot house with my new wife, Rachel, and we lived a fantastic life there for 10 years. And now we moved here to Las Vegas. I got this huge, huge property, which you guys have seen, $750,000 property. And I've been watching these videos, looking back at how poor I was and how nobody thought I had a chance. Nobody had thought I had a chance. Could have never convinced me 10 years ago that I'd be here now. And who knows where I'll be 10 years from now. And that's what I try to tell people. You don't know what the future will bring, so stay out of trouble. You know, don't get into drugs. Don't be drinking. Don't be getting into trouble. This place is so wonderful. It really is. I'm so proud of myself. I go back and I look at that video and I'm just like, wow, man. I can't believe how fantastic things are. I'm so happy and I'm so blessed. And come into my beautiful house, set up just the way I want, celebrating my television show, celebrating my love of rock music, my favorite band Kiss, and all the achievements and things that I've done over the years. And it's just fantastic to sit and watch those videos, see where I came from over the last 30 years and where I am now. It's a great sense of pride and gratitude. So thank you to all the people along the way since I was a kid who helped me, who believed in me. And for those of you that didn't, shame on you. I guess if I have a message in this video for my viewers, both young and old, is you don't know what the future may hold. Sometimes you might feel like it's the end of the world, and really it's not the end of the world. It could sometimes be the beginning, because sometimes a door closes only to open a better one. Just don't do anything stupid. Don't go out and get in trouble. Don't hurt yourself. Believe in yourself. Believe in your friends. And just stick to it. That's my advice. I didn't think I would be here, and here I am. And maybe in 10 years, I'll do another video like this, and who knows what I'll be doing. Hey, thanks to all my fans and followers, and for those of you that watched this video for an hour, bless you. Thank you for doing that. And there's going to be a lot more content. Really, I made this video for myself, I got to be honest. But if you wanted to get to know me better, that's the way to do it. Anyway, lots more videos and updates coming for the Vegas house. Onward and upward. There's so many projects we're working on here in Las Vegas. We're getting together Bob's Prop Shop Las Vegas, where we're going to be renting out and doing experiences with the Back to the Future DeLorean Time Machine, the Ghostbusters Ecto-1, Knight Rider, Scooby-Doo, the Blues Brothers, Scarface, all this kind of fun stuff. We have these luxury Rolls-Royce cars we're going to be giving rides in weddings. So many amazing projects that we're going to be working on. So it's been an emotional roller coaster sitting and editing this video all day and watching all of this, and it's been crazy. It has been. Sorry, I'm rambling. I'm at a loss for words. Hey, thank you so much for being a fan of mine. Thank you for all of those who support my Patreon, Storm Cop out there, and all the different people that are part of my Patreon. I'm going to put a link below for my Patreon, and I want to list some of the people on there that are always there to support me. Sean, all of you, and give you a nice little shout out. Thanks for watching.